Well, so this is my recording of the last part of my autobiography. I hope that I do a good job. I also realize that I'm recording this, so if people watch the video and they see me waving, they're probably going to think, what is she waving at? Meanwhile, I'm running the video live on YouTube, but I'm also recording it for my own purposes and whatnot. Okay, so I'm going to see how far I get through the third part of my autobiography, because it's 40 pages long and I don't know how much energy I have. I should have enough energy to get through it, because I was going to read this earlier today, but I got so tired I laid down, and I ended up taking a 4-hour nap. Close to it. So, we'll see how it goes. It's great to see you, Shield Maiden. James, Shauna. This is going to be a relaxed recording of it. If at any time I'm reading the book, I want to stop reading the book and just speak my testimony to you, I reserve that right. Okay? Cool. I'm getting ready. I know. I don't mean to be procrastinating. Hey, Jay Varney. It's great to see you. It's been a while. Good to see you. As long as I'm smiling, I look good. But if I don't smile, I look so skinny. I'll gain weight. It's just my activity went up and my eating did not increase whatsoever. It probably decreased because I've been doing too much activity. Alright, so without further ado. Right. Let me get my... I can't even talk. Let me get my screens straight. Alright. So, I gotta put the book right there so I can read it and make it look like I'm looking at you. Hey, 11 viewers on January 11th. Very cool. I like that. Jeff. Yes. Thank you, Jeff. I'm terrible with names. It's embarrassing, so I gotta ask you again. Forgive me. It's good to see you, though. Alright. Almost ready. Never drink soda right before reading your autobiography. Okay. I am Holly Baglio, your hostess with the mostest, broadcasting to you live from Holly Television Studios, right here in my beautiful home state of Garden, New Jersey. January 11th, 2001. I like the number 11. Hey, hot retarded. Okay, so I'm going to ignore my chat until it's like break time. So I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to like give like the best possible informal recording of my autobiography. Ready? All right. You guys are supposed to say, ready! Yes, I'm ready! Okay, so I'm going to say ready, and you guys are going to scream back, yes, I'm ready! Okay? Ready? See? Very good, guys. Yes, I'm ready! Okay, anyway, enough of goofing off. Boy, it feels like you guys can see right through me, huh? Alright, here we go. Now I'm going to get all nervous. Alright, part 3, When Two Worlds Collide, My Normal Life and My Super Soldier Life, Awakening and Deprogramming. Part 3. So, alright, about this time, I am 39 years old, so this section goes until from the time I'm 39 years old until I think I'm 44 years old, possibly 45 years old. We'll see. I think the book ends I think it picks up here in 2013 and ends in 2019 when I'm writing it. So, yeah, I completely left out 2020. But that's alright. So just to give you an idea of the time frame. This is the fun part, though. This is my favorite part of the book. The hardest part, I think, but the most fun. Betty Eadie's Embraced by the Light. Have you guys ever read it? If not, definitely I recommend it. So this chapter is Betty Eadie's Embraced by the Light. In the year 2013, someone handed me Betty Eadie's book entitled Embraced by the Light. I could not put the book down. While I was reading it, I had a flood of memories that I had completely forgotten about. It had been so long since I remembered the yellow-orange planet where I was with YESHUA before I was born here on Earth. During this time, God gave me back my dreams that used to come true. As I stated earlier in the book, I had given up my psychic abilities to God in hopes to spare my half-sister's life when my biological mother kept saying that she would die in a car accident. When those dreams, the nightmares came, with those dreams that he gave me back, the nightmares came too. Dark objects and things would be right in front of my face when I woke up from sleeping. I would have to blink my eyes to focus, and then they would disappear. I began remembering the demon attacks I endured as a child, and they started up again. The spiritual attacks grew worse, and I did not know what to do. I did not know how to protect myself. One evening I went before God and asked him to show me my future, and if he was not in it, to please give me a future with where he is. God showed me Jesus was going to return. God showed me many things about my future, including what was going to happen in these last days and end times. He showed me that He gave me a song and dance, and that there would be major catastrophes. He showed me nukes going off and huge earthquakes to come. He showed me people standing on top of buildings and firing into crowds of unarmed people, innocent people. He showed me UN soldiers coming in by train in the middle of the night and taking over cities. He showed me people on top of buildings like at a football event in a stadium shooting down into crowds and killing people while people ran all over the place. He also showed me a flood, but the flood he showed me was not like Noah's flood. He showed me asteroids. He showed me the universe. He showed me places I would go and people I would be meeting along my journey. He showed me that revelation in the Holy Bible was going to come true. God told me in my dreams that there was something else that I needed to get right, but he did not tell me what it was at this time. One Friday evening, I confessed to my attorney what was happening. I was at my attorney's office, and I confessed to him one Friday evening about my dreams, and I told him that Jesus is going to return. I even told him how God showed me that I have a song and dance. My attorney's eyes lit up. He had never heard me speak like this before. He said, "Holly, I can show you Jesus' second return in the Holy Bible, including what a song and dance is." My attorney was elated that I had open dialogue to discuss these things. Once a week, him and I would do Holy Bible studies and discuss my dreams and visions. We began praying together, and every week there was always something new that he would show me in the Holy Bible. Next chapter, seeing Jesus. God gave me so many dreams that they were hard to keep track of. One in particular was of me stranded in a room with about 7 other people. When I looked outside the window, I saw principalities coming through the field outside, and all of us had to hide from them. We tried to duck underneath the window to hide and underneath the desks that were in the room. I got so worried, I ran to lock the window. Then I ran to the door, but it was locked too. In the dream, I tried to slow my breathing down and control a rapid beat of my racing heart. In the dream, I thought to myself, Jesus, I need to get Jesus. I turned the doorknob handle. Well, I ran to the door, but it was locked. I couldn't open it. And I was struggling with this door, beating it in, basically. But then I stopped to slow my breathing and to control my rapid heartbeat from racing. In the dream, I thought to myself, Jesus, I need Jesus. Once again, I turned the doorknob handle one more time, attempting to open it and help myself and the others escape the darkness coming to harm. Suddenly, the door flew open, and I saw a bright, brilliant light in the shape of a cross. The cross was beaming in almost blinding light, but I could still look directly at it. From behind the cross came a man. He was standing before me. He, too, was so bright as I tried to focus my eyes on him to see his facial details. But then I woke from this dream. It did not dawn on me at the time that that man was Jesus. It didn't dawn on me for a couple more years until later in my awakening process. Next chapter. Growing up, I always remembered the name of a brown-haired boy who grew up to be another commander and a blonde-haired girl who grew up to be a super soldier. These were people I knew from the projects. I knew them from the dumps. There was something they both shared the first name. The memory of these two children stuck with me my whole life. A couple of these children, the memory of them stuck with me my whole life. So, a few of them actually. But these two in particular, the boy and the girl. But I passed this memory off as a bad dream or growing pains. Like when I was remembering these kids from the projects, I thought maybe it was just a bad dream or an overactive imagination, just like everybody had told me, from the churches to schools to friends to authority figures, everyone. So I just paid no mind to it and kept passing it off. I had already told family, church congregants, and doctors that those kids in a cage, I had already been told by family, church congregants, and doctors and friends that those kids in a cage were just nightmares that I was having back when I was 18, and that was all in my head. So here I am, 39 years old. Why would I expect to hear anything different, right? In 2013, I got into a bit of trouble. I terminated a relationship with someone who did not want me to break up with him. I told everyone, he told everyone he was going to kill me. I called homicide and reported it. When that news got back to me, I began feeling like I had to wear self-defense weapons like mace and such. And there were things that he was doing at that time I'm not going to get into. Doesn't matter. But he put me in the position to feel like I needed self-defense weapons. Him and his friends. I also carried 2 knives. One knife was always clipped on my jeans on the outside in plain view. It was a black stiletto knife with holes in the handle. The blade was thin, and as long as my hand is wide, it is legal. I named this knife Moses after the story of him in the Holy Bible. The second knife I had was smaller, but I kept it concealed on my person. I named this knife after the 2 super soldiers that I had memories of that shared the same first name. And this little smaller second knife had a fake, but nonetheless, white pearl handle. I don't know if I should mention what I named it. I'm going to move on from here. Next chapter, quitting prescriptions. I started to turn to Jesus. I began watching YouTube videos seeking out testimonies about angels and demons. I could always see them, so I wanted to find out if anyone else could see them too. I bumped into a ton of people online. Some were dark souls not knowing Jesus, and some souls I met shined the light of Jesus through them. The people who had Jesus shining through them, I paid close attention to. On one video, someone was preaching how God's word was still living. So if you believed in his word, he can still heal and cure your life and health, etc. I am the type of person who is curious and daring enough, so I took him up on it. One evening, on another evening, I went before God, and I got to stick to the script. I got to digress 1 second. Already in part 1, I already screwed up talking about the blonde-haired, curly little boy because I gave the ending away at the beginning. And, yeah, I just got to stick to the script. And if at the end I forget something, I can add it in. All right, back to me reading. One evening I went before God and asked him to please get me off all the prescriptions and medical procedures I was on and going through. 8 doctors a month, every month. I did not want to carry multiple prescription bottles in my purse anymore. I did not want to rely on doctors anymore. I did not want to wake up in the morning and have the first thing I reach be for a prescription bottle to start my day. Instead, I wanted to reach for my Holy Bible. Why not? Why not? I said, God, I am seeking you, searching for you, and I'm going to knock on your door. I want to be healthy again. I want to feel good again. And I believe through Jesus' blood this can happen. And someone, somewhere, told me some crazy little thing that your logos in the Holy Bible is still living, so miracles can still be performed, like as if you were walking the face of the earth. So, let's find out. I'm coming to find out. In 2004, to backtrack a little, I was put on 33 prescriptions because I had contracted Lyme's disease. And it tore my entire body down physically, mentally, and emotionally. A brown recluse spider bit the back of my right arm one night while I was sleeping on my parents' couch. They had a bunch of plants along the windowsill, and my mother is into horses, and so, there's saddles, and she was always in and out of the sliding door, and I had fallen asleep on the couch. So I accidentally rolled over on this thing. I went from being an active... Okay, so it bites me on the back of my right arm. I went from being an active martial artist who worked full-time to being partially bedridden within months. It took me 3 years of physical therapy to begin manipulating my extremities to function and walk properly again. It took me many more years after that to run. I think the first time I actually ran again was in 2013. 2012. Up in Maine on the seashore with Keeper. And I had returned up in Maine in 2014. You guys will find that out. But anyway, just to give you some history. So, even my fingers were crippled and starting to become deformed from rheumatoid arthritis. One night I took my law textbook from college, which was about 4 inches thick and heavy. I spread my fingers as flat as I could position them on top of a really hard wood table. And then with the other hand, I tried to hold the law book, and I slammed the law book down on top of each hand like that. My fingers were like crinkled up. I wanted them to be straight. It was an attempt to make my fingers straight again. My fingers were deformed and crippled looking, and I could not hold utensils. My boyfriend was feeding me at that point because I couldn't hold utensils like forks and spoons. However, that night when I smashed my fingers between a hard table and that heavy book, I was successful at getting my fingers straight. And they're still straight to this day. When I went for my monthly checkup, the doctors got mad at me when they found out what I had done. However, I felt that what they were doing was simply not working. I saw no benefits. They were not making me feel any better. Their prescriptions made me have more health problems than I started with. no offense, my grandmaster probably from martial arts probably would have done the same exact thing to straighten my fingers out. Instead of leaving them go like that. Who knows? I'm just assuming. But that's what I did. I'm not giving out any medical advice. I am not telling you guys what you should do. I am simply sharing my autobiography and personal testimony of my life. January 4th, 2014 rolled around, and at 39 years old, I quit all my prescriptions. I had weaned down to 12, but January 4th, I quit those 12. I fired all my doctors. I woke up one morning and stopped taking half of my prescriptions, starting with pain management prescriptions. I fired all my doctors and told them that I would not be back because they always hung my prescriptions over my head. And I did not want to keep taking their drugs. I was successful in coming off the medications. It took 6 months of white-knuckling it and changing around every single habit and routine I had. I was always a person that was a do-it. I'll do it myself. I'll do it on my own. Very independent. I did not feel I needed the help of any kind of doctor or hospital to detox from these medications. I knew I was strong enough to do it on my own. I grabbed my Holy Bible and medicinal marijuana, and I spent the many winter nights sleeping next to the radiator, expelling those medications from my system. I was determined to find a better way of life that has quality and a better way to treat all my diagnoses. I was and still am convinced that I found that better way. That way is through Jesus. He is the only truth. He is the only life. He is the only light. And He is the only way. April 2014, I quit the second half of my prescriptions. So, 3 months, I quit the first 6. And then in the second 3 months, I quit the second 6 of prescriptions, second half of them. It was not fun either. I quit on the second round of quitting pills. I quit all the anti-anxiety pills, sleeping pills, stuff like that. High and low blood pressure. It seemed like every panic attack and anxiety attack I had ever had in my life that I took a pill for to stop or prevent just came back to haunt me, and all at once. And now I could not take anything and just had to tolerate my way through it until it all passed. I had been trying for many months to get sober off of all these prescriptions that the doctor gave to me. Finally, I was set free and successful. I began feeling better being off other prescriptions. My self-confidence returned because I realized just how strong and determined I was to be able to accomplish this. I began living life again instead of life living me. It felt like I had a new lease on life and like I was untouchable. I was not perfect, but at this point I was no longer living in dependence to prescriptions. Goodbye, addiction. Doctors say, you are dependent on your medications, Holly, but you're not addicted. Yeah, right? Being dependent on a chemical is the exact same thing as being addicted. It's just a politer sounding word. No one likes to be told they're addicted to anything. Dependent is a glossier, smoother word. When all this when all of this happened to me, I began worshiping God. I had no idea what I was doing. However, God and I were beginning to have a personal, active, intimate relationship. God got me off those prescriptions. I still suffered my health diagnoses, but no worse than when I was tied to all those prescriptions. I was and still am miserable, having bad health, but it was not from the prescriptions, and that felt so empowering. This was just a start, though. Staying off the prescriptions is a whole other challenge onto itself. When you stop the amount of prescriptions I have, one must not only detox, but then one must stay off and not go back. 2017, 2014, God sealed me. A second time in my life, because I had gone up that's right, I had gone up the first time in 2013. The second time, Keeper Savo and I went up with my very good friend of the family, extended family, more like family. We went up there a second time in my life to Kennebunkport, Maine on a vacation in May 2014. The first time I went a year before. I don't really remember, I only remember bits and pieces of that trip. The mansion I stayed in was about a mile away from George Bush Sr.'s vacation home. It was a huge mansion that had a staff's quarters on the third floor with bedrooms, bathrooms, and a kitchen. On the first floor, there were 2 main kitchens, 2 living rooms, and a bathroom. Could have been 3 living rooms. On the second floor, there were about 7 bedrooms and 3 full bathrooms, if my memory serves me. And this was like one of the smallest houses there. So, smallest mansions, excuse me. It is a beautiful house that sits across the street from the beach, surrounded by other mansions that were even bigger, having elevators inside of them. When my friend and I arrived late in the evening on the first day, we needed to stretch our legs from the long drive. So we took a walk across the street to the beach. It was dark out and the moonlight lit our way as we walked along the shoreline. The person I went with is still a very best friend to me, more like family. We worked together, our families crewed for Forbes together, just very close together. I grew up with him for 20 years, and our families knew each other very well. All of us used to be the crew for hot air ballooning companies, one of which is a famous, well-known family. As we neared the water, we saw about 10 green orbs the size of beach balls swarming feverishly between and through each other. I had no idea what we were witnessing. However, the green color alarmed me. I felt that it was of Satan, but I had no frame of reference for what I was feeling inside. I just felt like these orbs were evil in nature. I climbed up onto a big set of rocks that protruded out into the sea like a dock. I walked along until I got to the end, and I watched these orbs in astonishment. My friend on the sandy beach called out to me, and he said he was going to go in the water and catch one. I yelled at him, "Oh, no, you're not. Do not dare do that. You do not know what they are, and if they take you away, I am not going in after you. I'm not. No." After 10 minutes of watching these green orbs, we went back inside the mansion to grab a drink. We both were amazed and did not know what those green orbs were. We went back out to the beach side a little while later, but the orbs had vanished. My friend told me the background of the mansion and said it was haunted. Oh yeah, it was haunted, all right. The mansion was used as a vacation rental. I guess maybe like back in the 50s and 60s. I don't know, the whole history of it was like a vacation rental. And many wealthy people stayed there over their summers. Now, I mean, we're going back decades and decades and decades. So now these people are deceased, right? Well, my friend tells me that all the spirits in the house are all the dead people that used to vacation there back in the good old days, right? When the house was first built and stuff. He said those spirits were still roaming around the house having a party. He told me not to be surprised if I saw them or heard their voices and music playing. In addition, his deceased mother loved this vacation home, and it'd be no surprise if I saw her sitting downstairs smoking a cigarette. His mother used to love going up to Maine. It was her favorite. He admitted that he would still see her spirit sitting at the dining room table smoking cigarettes and looking out of the big bay window in one of the living rooms. Sadly, my response was not what he was expecting whatsoever. I told him I would find out what that thing was haunting the house, and I already knew that it was not his mother. And nor were those other spirits, the spirits of dead humans that used to party in this house. It was hard because I was trying to be respectful to him, but I could not deny that I could see these demons. I was still not awake to MK Ultra at this time, nor did I realize I was an ex-super soldier. I was still sleeping. On the second evening, my friend went to sleep earlier than I did. Don't ever let your friends go to sleep before you when you're staying in a haunted house. Just saying. Okay? That always makes for like a perfect horror movie. Don't do it. Prevention. Okay? Go to sleep first. Well, no. Just don't be the last is all I'm saying. On the second evening, my friend went to sleep earlier than I did. I let my cat out so she could roam around the entire mansion freely, and I proceeded to sit downstairs by candlelight and write poetry. My dog sat under the table at my feet. Suddenly, across the room, I saw one of the rocking chairs directly in front of the big bay living room. Okay. I'm sitting at the dining room table. To the right is the door to the kitchen, but there's also a big mirror hanging on the wall. If you turn left, you get to the end of the dining room table. If you go like a hard left, there's a second dining room table, big long one. But if you keep walking straight, so from the dining room table where I'm writing my poetry, you just go left, you get to the end of the dining room table. If you keep walking straight, you get to the big bay windows. And in front of the bay windows sits two white rocking chairs with an end table in the middle of them. Well, all of a sudden, one of these rocking chairs starts rocking back and forth. It startled me. I got up from the dining room table and approached the chair. And this chair is rocking back and forth like someone's sitting in it too. And that's why it startled me. So I get up, I walk over to it. I finally reach the rocking chair. I look down on the seat and I see my cat sitting there. I laughed to myself in relief. And I thought I'd better get a thicker skin and to stop being a scaredy cat myself. I returned back to the dining room table and continued writing poetry. I saw my cat running back and forth up and down the chair, playing around, jumping on top of everything that she's not supposed to, as she's nocturnal. So the rocking chair would rock a couple times, but she's racing around. It's her. So every time I see this rocking chair rocking, I think it's her horsing around. I keep passing off. So after writing poetry for an hour or two, I start to get tired. And I pack up my things. I blow out the candles. Out of the corner of my eye, because everything had settled down, I'd written poetry for quite some time at that point. So out of the corner of my eye, I see the chair again, rocking rapidly. I approach the chair to pick. I go over to the rocking chair because I figure at this point I'm going to grab the cat, pick her up, bring her upstairs, and then I'll come back down, grab the rest of my stuff, and then go to bed. When I get up to the chair that's rocking, back and forth again, I grab the back rest to stop the movement. And I'm thinking when I look down, I'm going to see my cat sitting there. As soon as I look down, there's no cat. My stomach sinks. I turn back around and look at the dining room table, and at this point, my heart stops because I realize not even the dog is sitting there anymore. I am standing there by myself with a chair that's rocking on its own. I got scared, felt eerily alone, and booked out of the living room, hightailing it up the stairs to my bedroom. Once I entered the bedroom, both my cat and dog are laying on top of the bed, watching the door as I entered. They seemed spooked too, as if something had startled them. Thanks, guys. The next day when I woke up and went downstairs for breakfast, I passed by the living room where I was sitting the prior night. I saw from the back what looked like a woman sitting at the table. It was like an apparition. I always had the gift of spirit eyes and being able to see the spirit realm. However, what was odd to me is it was daylight hours. I went about my business and ignored what I had seen. The day and the following day, I kept seeing this woman throughout the house. When I was upstairs, I would pass by the other bedrooms and I would see her standing in the one bedroom wearing a long dress, but she had no face. She was very eerie to me. I made mention of this to my friend, but he did not think much of it. One late evening, I retired to my bedroom as we had taken a long bike ride during the day. And I was tired. When I lay down for sleep, something had began happening to me that I had never experienced before in my entire life. I had an eerie feeling that I was not alone and something evil was in my bedroom. Nonetheless, I gotta go to sleep. So I get in bed, I lay down. Next thing I know, I feel someone, I won't even say something, I will say someone breathing on the back of my neck as I'm trying to drift off to sleep. I jumped up, turn around, but nothing's there. Nothing's in the bed next to me, nothing's in the room. I went back to lay down, but this time it felt like a person had gotten into bed with me. I felt the bed sink down. I saw the bed sink down. This was unnerving to me. I jumped up out of bed again, but there's nothing in the room whatsoever. I reluctantly returned to lay down because I'm tired. When I get too tired, overtired. I get a nauseated feeling in my stomach, and I have to lay down and go to bed, or that's it. I get sick. So I return to lay down. Again, the bed sank. But this time I tried to ignore it and I tried to fall asleep. This time I felt someone take their fingertips and start walking them up my arm, past my elbow, then continue up, 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 onto my shoulder. And now I'm jumping out of bed again, turn around to see who is there, and still nobody's in the bed. The room's empty. Turn on the lights, walking around, thoroughly inspecting everywhere of the room. My cat and dog were sleeping soundly, of course, on the chairs over by the bay windows at the end of the bed, but it's kind of like you have like a sitting area by the bay windows, a part of the bedroom, right? And they're acting like nothing's wrong, sleeping soundly. So I have no choice. I gotta lay down, I gotta go to sleep. And the bed, of course, continues to sink. It sank again, as if, again, someone just got into bed to lay down next to me. I feel the breathing on my neck, the back of my neck, the top of my shoulders. I feel the fingertips walking up my arms toward my shoulders, as if it's a romantic flirtation. I get up and I start saying, I love God. You cannot haunt me. You cannot do this to me. God will not let you harm me. I love God. All through the night this went on, back and forth, all through the night. By the next day, I was feeling sick as I had not enough rest. Obviously, I was up most of the night falling under spiritual attack of some sort. I began to vomit, and I could not stop. That day, I was not able to go out and enjoy my vacation. I thought I would perk up and that things would get better, but they did not. They only got worse. The following day, I was still stuck in the bathroom, but at this point, my lips were turning blue. Oh, in the bathroom? Oh, man, I forgot all about that bathroom scene. So my lips are turning blue. I'm in the bathroom. I can't stop vomiting. I'm completely dehydrated. I'm having terrible, awful visions. This thing is just standing over me, watching me, and I can feel it the whole time. It's just, it didn't stop at all. It would stand in the shower. It just wouldn't stop. So my friend takes me to the hospital where they got the vomiting to stop and rehydrate me so I could go home. I was only home for about a couple of hours, but it seemed like everything was okay, and I was all for continuing my vacation and not allowing this to get to me. We returned back to the mansion, but again, within hours of my return, I was spiritually under attack with that thing getting in bed with me and breathing on me, touching me, and scaring the daylights out of me. I ended up in the bathroom again, vomiting profusely, but this time I could not stop to even take a breath of air. My friend had to take me a second time back to the hospital. This time the hospital loaded me up on medication and kept me for a longer period of time. They said I had pancreatitis and severe exhaustion. When I returned a second time back to the mansion, the spiritual attacks lessened and my health began to slowly improve. Towards the end of the vacation, I was not ready to go home, but still had... Oh, wait. Towards the end of the vacation, we were up there for a long time. I was ready to go home, but we still had more time left to the trip. When I got my strength back, I took my dog outside to play with her and get some exercise. By accident, I did not close the door well enough. You have to have a strong grip and slam it shut to completely close it. I have rheumatoid arthritis in my hands, and my hands get hurting so badly I can't feel them. So, unbeknownst to me, the door did not completely close shut. While I was outside in the front yard playing with my dog, the two other dogs of the families who were there vacationing at the same time came running out to me. Therefore, my dog, their two dogs, and I continued to play with the ball and horse around, enjoying the fresh air in the front yard. Suddenly, my friend and the other families came outside and began yelling at me. Apparently, I had not closed the front door well enough, and they were all furious with me. But I apologized, and that did not seem to calm anyone down. When I went inside the house, they continued yelling at me. I tried to explain, but again, it was not good enough for them. I grabbed some of my belongings, took my dog to the beach, and hung out there on top of the rocks for hours, crying to myself over what happened. While I sat on those rocks, I began talking to God, and I made a covenant with Him. I told God that if these people are so pissed off at me over the door and their dogs, that I would not be afraid to sleep under the stars as He made the stars for me. I told God that I knew we were at the end of time, and I remembered the promise I had made to Him when I was 16 to warn every single person, including those who bullied and harassed me all throughout school, that it was time to get right with Him before it was too late. I asked God if I could have 12 friends, just like those that Jesus had, because I felt like I had nobody and nowhere to go. I thanked Him for getting me off prescriptions and told Him I still need help for my disabilities, but instead of pills, I would use medicinal marijuana only. I apologized to God for always putting boyfriends in front of Him. I told Him that if He would allow me, I would still use my electronic vape pen, but I wouldn't smoke cigarettes. I still had problems, but I prayed He would help me solve them. I told God whatever He needed from me, I would do, and to please not forget about me. I asked God if I could have a sign from Him. I again reminded Him that if He gave me a picture of Him, I would show it to the world and make believers of them, trying to turn them to Jesus. I told Him I really wanted to be closer to Him and to hear His voice. As I sat on the rocks by the water's edge, I started to take selfies. I was crying profusely. I took my iPad and shot off a bunch of selfies. I was wearing a dark pair of glasses so you couldn't see that I was crying. Afterwards, I just listened to music, trying to calm my nerves from what had happened earlier with the families over the door and dogs. Finally, after a couple of hours, I did go back inside the house, and I ended up locking myself in the bedroom, daydreaming of the moment the vacation was over. The following days seemed to settle down, and my friend wanted to go for a drive around George Bush Sr.'s vacation house. We pulled alongside the road to park. We got out and looked at the Bush's vacation home, the anchor at the end of the driveway. It was far off in the distance and very eerie looking. I took pictures of everything I could on my trip. I completely looked like a tourist. When we were there, I stood by the big anchor placed at the end of the driveway, and with my spirit eyes, I could see demonic spirits that looked like dragons circling above the house. It had such a gloomy look to it. I never liked any of the Bushes as our presidents, so I was happy to leave because there was no reason for me to be there. I had not woken up from MK Ultra at this point, so I did not remember that George Bush Sr. was a boss to us super soldiers in deep underground military bases. Dumbs. The vacation ended, and I was so happy to go home. In June 2014, I had company over at my house, and I began telling them about the haunting and what I experienced in Kennebunkport. My friend who was looking through the picture said, "Holly, did you see this?" He gave me my iPod and pointed out one picture in particular to me. It was one of the selfies I had taken the day I gave my covenant to God. There was a cross on top of my forehead. I began scrolling through all 700 pictures and videos I had taken during that trip. In the group of selfies, 12 pictures had flashes through my face. On the 13th picture, on the 13th selfie, the picture was clear, the scenery was clear, and there were no flashes on my face. However, specifically on the 11th picture, 11th picture, 11th picture, on the 11th picture of the roll was a perfect cross on my forehead, hence why my lucky number is now 11. When I saw that picture, I ran to my Holy Bible and reread Revelation. God was pointing my eyes to the 144,000 seals in certain scriptures, Revelation 7:3 and Revelation 9:4. Also, I'd like to add here, and for the record, which is not copyrighted in my book, but I'd like to add, the seal on my forehead, because of my limited knowledge at this point in my life that I'm talking about in June 2014, I had not fully read all through the Holy Bible. I would like to point out that in Ezekiel, I believe it's Ezekiel 9, Ezekiel talks about a seal that's given out to those who expose the darkness. So, I am not here saying that I'm one of the 144,000 seals, although I'd really like to be. Boy, I'd love to be one of the 12 tribes. But I want to point out, now that I've done more Holy Bible studies and I've learned more, I would like to definitely point out that in Ezekiel, I believe it's chapter 9, it is talked about Yud-He-Vav-He sealing the foreheads of whistleblowers, of people that expose the darkness. So, I will get back to reading. For weeks, I sat and looked at that picture in amazement and in astonishment. He was listening to me. He was listening to me May 17, 2014, when I sat on those rocks. He heard me. He answered me. He answered me before I knew he answered me. It took a month later and my friend looking through all of those pictures and videos to come across it. But God answered me. Next chapter, learning God and Jesus's names. This goes into, okay, so this next chapter, this goes into my intimate, active, personal relationship with him. I am not passing judgment, criticizing, or belittling anyone else if they don't say these precise things, because you all have your intimate, active relationships with him and your individual walks and your sways and styles to that walk with him. So don't take this the wrong way. I'm just explaining me to you and my relationship with him to you. That's all. That's all. Excuse me, I need to pause to turn on the heat. For instance, if you say Yahweh or Yahweh and I say Yud-He-Vav-He or something, like, I'm not getting on anybody about those, what would you say, semantics. I'm not. Okay. I'll zip it and read. I'll read. Learning God and Jesus' names. After receiving the picture of God's cross upon my forehead, it set me on fire. Passion. Passion fire. I began looking up many videos and ministries on YouTube to learn more about Him. When talking about Him, I began capitalizing His, Jesus, and Holy Spirit's names. I wanted to raise Him above everyone and everything I ever knew. I wanted to show Him how much He means to me and how grateful I am to Him that He accepts me. I asked God what His name was. He told me it was 4 letters, 1 word, and go search to find out. At this time, I felt like I had used God and Jesus' names in vain and just wore them out. So I was in repentance. I wanted to grow closer to Him. I asked Him to guide me, and I would trust in everything He did in my life going forward. I told Him I stand on His promises and only trust my Savior Jesus from now on. I bumped into a rabbi's videos online who said God was only a title, like Mr. and Mrs. are titles, and it is not the name of our Creator. He said God's name is Yud He Vav He. I want to pause here, okay? Because when God said, okay, my name is 4 letters, 1 word, go fetch, go find out, I did come back to Him and I did say, okay, it's Abba. That's 4 letters. Abba. A-B-B-A. Abba. I can't remember if I got that right out of the Holy Bible myself, or if I heard it on a video, looked in the Bible, saw it in the Bible, and then said, okay, it's Abba. He turns around and says, yes, I am Abba, yes, but no, it's not my name. So, okay. Now I'm going from God to calling Him Heavenly Abba, but I'm still on a search for this one word, 4 letters, right? So I go back to God, and again, He's like, kind of, go fetch. But God ends up telling me that His name is YHVH. 4 letters, YHVH. And it's pronounced Yud He Vav He. It means behold the hand, behold the nail. Oh, excuse me. I gotta take this back. He, the rabbi, said that God's name. I gotta backtrack and correct myself. I made a mistake. Excuse me. I apologize. See, the rabbi on the video said that God's name is Yud He Vav He, YHVH. It means behold the hand, behold the nail. This rabbi went on to say that Jesus is the English translation of our Savior's name. He said that Jesus spoke in an Aramaic. He said that Jesus spoke Aramaic, and when He was alive, He would hear people speak His name as YESHUA. So He would hear people say YESHUA to Him when He was alive before being crucified for all of our sins, resurrecting, and then ascending to heaven so that we too could be reconciled onto Yud He Vav He. I went back to Heavenly Abba and I said, is your name YHVH, like this rabbi says? And you know what, Yud He Vav He, this actually kind of sounds familiar as like when I went, like going back to being a small child It sounds familiar, and it sounds like something I've always known deep down inside of me. But this Messianic rabbi is saying this, and God turns around and God says, yes, Holly, that is my name. Yes. Bingo! You got it. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. I was saying Yahweh at first, and sometimes I still do say Yahweh. So anyway, once I find out that Yahweh is his name, how to correctly spell it, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, at this point, I purposefully unlearn everything that every single person in my entire life had taught me, from church to school to everything, or just through vague conversations. I unlearned it all. I began to say Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh instead of God. I began to say Yeshua instead of Jesus. I began having an intimate, active, and personal relationship with my Creator, Savior, and Holy Spirit. I began turning my life around and trying to do better. I ventured on a new quest in my life, and it was to become closer to Him in every way possible that I could think of. He and I began our journey. With that cross upon my forehead, I knew that I had everything in the entire world and universe that I could ever dream of having, and it was Him. When I prayed to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, I would go face down on my belly on the floor. Because I had been a martial artist previously and gave people full bows before sparring, I thought to myself that bowing or taking a knee would just not suffice, and it just wasn't good enough for me to do when I prayed, and I wanted to do more. This is something personal inside of me and what I was reaching towards. I was seeking something new for Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh that I had never done. I was seeking for something new, and that was Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, and I had never done that before. Or if I had, when it came to Him, I wanted to do it better than I had in the past. Still to this day, it is no surprise if you see my face down on the floor. Still to this day, it would not be a surprise if you caught me face down on the floor praying to Him. I give Him my full, complete, utter surrender. Next chapter, June 2014. I was not sure what I was doing, but I was praying all day long to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, Heavenly Abba. He was guiding me and teaching me things I always wanted to know about Him. I prayed over and blessed the water in my glass so my body was holy and blessed. When I ate, I would ask Him to join me. Every time I took a shower, I would ask Him to baptize me. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh became all I focused on and talked about. People around me became alienated as I started changing drastically. I was happy. Still am. But it was very difficult for me. There were many days when I became frustrated and angry. I realized I spent 39 years wasting my life. I did not serve Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh and give my life to Him sooner. My life was lived selfishly. I knew I was backslidden. Next chapter. Finding ministries. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh began to lead me to online ministries where I could learn and study the Holy Bible. I found an evangelist who gave world news and current events. This evangelist discussed how it related to the end times and last days that we were living in, that the apostles discussed in the Gospels, as well as what the prophets discussed in the Gospels. I tuned into this evangelist every time she uploaded a video. On one episode in particular, she gave her testimony and posted a picture of a child she had who died as an infant. I recognized that picture of her and her husband at their child's gravesite. She was the one whom I had been dreaming of since I was 3 years old. She was the one that Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh showed me in an awake vision He gave me while I was watching The Muppet Show as a small child. Remember back in the beginning in my normal life I told you? Suddenly I had a weird but familiar feeling in my gut. I felt I was right there where I was supposed to be my whole life, as if my life was hinged on this moment to turn to Yeshua, thus following my dream straight into reality. In time, I was able to contact her and join her chat room during broadcasts. I began giving my testimony. I called into her show 4 times. By December 2015, I had been a multiple caller. I had been a caller multiple times on her live streams, and that is where I confessed to her that Yudhe had been giving me prophetic dreams about her and her ministry for my entire life. Through this ministry, I was able to break chains. Quit my prescriptions, quit cigarettes, break chains, and keep them broken. Next chapter, blood on people's faces. One day I confessed to my friend that I was seeing blood on people's faces. I was asking him what it was, but he didn't know and couldn't answer me. He had blood on his face too, and random people that I would see passing on the streets or in stores. It gave me an urge to fight and attack. I never acted on this urge, of course, but people did not really actually have blood on their faces, but in my mind's eye, I could see that they did. What was happening, as I later found out, was the programming was rearing its ugly head. The MK Ultra programming for satanic sleeper super soldiers was being triggered. I was starting to wake up. Next chapter, lost my home. In September 2014, I lost my home of 10 years. It broke my heart. I loved living alone and on my own. I loved living by myself in my own home. Every day I had a great day, and every night I slept well. It suited me just fine. I was only responsible for my cat, my dog, and myself, which was perfect. I desired no more. I blasted my stereo when I wanted, ate or did not eat when I wanted, and did things I wanted to do, when I wanted to do them. I did not disturb anyone else with anything I did. I had freedom, independence, privacy, and I never had to answer to anyone or anything. I loved it. My place was decorated so nicely. I had my piano and a beautiful dining room set, an amazing living room set, and a gorgeous bedroom set. Everything was spotless. In the winter, the place was always hot. Therefore, I kept the windows open so the cold air could come through, and it felt nice to be warm, yet still taking breaths of fresh air. My cat loves sitting at the kitchen and living room windowsills. One was over the cellar door, so she did not have to jump up. She was happy playing with the squirrels out back. Keeper sat at the front door with her nose hanging out, watching the days fade away and watching everyone come and go along the sidewalk and street. I kept the door chain-linked, but open for her. I made my own funny YouTube video skits. I used to take Coca-Cola bottles with different names and come up with different funny jokes for them. The bottle named Nick, I nicked up with a chainsaw. I would wear tinfoil hats or Burger King hats and joke around while wearing them. Anything I could think of that was funny, I would run a couple-second long video about. Even my animals were incorporated in these videos. I named my YouTube channel HTV or Holly Television. I opened up a Google Plus account and began meeting many amazing people, including people I had always wanted to meet. Google Plus and YouTube reached a lot more people than Facebook. Starting from this point, I began sharing everything I experienced in life, online and public. It was great in some ways and terrible in others. Don't ever drink and shoot videos, guys. Nonetheless, don't get angry, drink, and shoot videos. Anyway, nonetheless, it would afford me many opportunities in time to come. Although I didn't know this at the time. This is back in 2014. One example is online interviews and meeting many different people. Right? Disability didn't send my check for 3 months, and due to this financial difficulty, I lost my home. I ended up renting an expensive couch from someone in Newfoundland, New Jersey, for a short period of time. I have to digress. I'm looking at my chat room. You remember, William, this is when we met. And yes, it's 11:11 p.m. on January 11th, 2001. This is great. All right, let me get back to... I can't stop smiling. My cheeks are hurting. Oh no, I'm going to lose more weight in my cheeks. They're already sunken in. I'm getting hungry. Excuse me. What page am I on? I've only read 8 pages. Ugh, I don't stand a chance. All right, let me get back. I ended up renting an expensive couch from someone in Newfoundland, New Jersey for a short period of time. It was brutal as I had to live with someone else and I had no privacy. I was now renting a tiny place and keeping my pets and I together at all costs. When I was settled into this new place, it was not my cup of tea. My only escape was my computer. The people surrounding me at the time called themselves Christian, but were the farthest thing away from being Jesus lovers. They were not awake to what is happening in the world around them. The term sheeple is a great definition to explain the situation I was stuck in with those people. I tried to save up money to find myself another place during this time and still pay rent and bills. My disability check did not cover very much, and I was desperately struggling. I am a homebody because of my physical and mental diagnoses, and living in a cramped quarters such as this made everything worse. All I had was a dresser of clothes and everything else was in storage. I was beginning to have a constant thirst for YESHUA and learning His Word. I began using my YouTube channel to look up ministries and other people's testimonies. Every day and evening I was tuning into live broadcasts and archive videos. Everyone talking about YESHUA that the Holy Spirit led me to, I dived into. I had already stopped watching TV back in 2009, but I began getting my current world and local news on YouTube. With each day, I was learning more and more while the world around me grew colder and colder. Since 2011, I was already suffering from truth shock, realizing I had been deceived by the world around me. However, now I had all the time I needed to educate myself about what I had missed by having my head in the sand and not paying attention for so long. I was embarking upon a pivotal time. Things started to drastically change for what seemed to be the better at times and for the worse at others. I continued to ask YESHUA to lead me, and the Holy Spirit continued to disciple me solely and securely. I began praying day in and day out to Him from the time I woke up until I went to sleep and all through the night if I stirred. I stopped finding joy in hanging out with my friends for UFC night. I stopped finding joy in going to bars and parties. Drugs and prescriptions were the last thing on my mind, and that is all my friends did at the time. Plus, they drank like fishes every day. The people around me were superficial, and the conversations lacked intelligence, which drove me farther away from them. I began drifting away from socializing. I got into studying and became more serious. I focused on educating myself. I did not want to go back to college and hated sitting in class. However, with the internet at my fingertips, I could still get a college education and learn many things I always wanted to learn, and for free. Therefore, I tuned in and looked up everything that came to mind or that other people mentioned in chat rooms that I began frequenting. I would still make funny videos and funny skits, but those were changing too. I began talking about serious things in my videos, even while I was still trying to be funny. There was a noticeable change. My old friends were noticing it too. Even when I had conversations with people, the topics were deeper and more meaningful. Next chapter, eclipse. There was an eclipse October 2014 or November 2014. I think October 2014, not sure. Which I was trying to stay awake during the wee hours of the morning to witness. I ended up falling asleep and missing it. I also fell under bad, brutal spiritual attack. I partially woke up because I felt something enter the room, and it was evil. All I could do was open my eyes, but I could not move my body or yell for help as a result of sleep paralysis. About 5 demonic spirits surrounded me as I laid on that couch, and they were saying something I could not understand. 2 of them jumped on my back, and a couple surrounded my head. The fifth one at my feet. The one on my back took a knife and sliced open my throat as I laid there. He grabbed the back of my head, tilted it back, and sliced my throat with a knife. I felt the blood spill out of my neck and down into my throat. I felt the warmth of the blood as it poured from me. When they were finished, they left the room on their own accord. I laid there in horror over what they were able. I laid there in horror over how they were able to attack me so violently. For 3 days after that, all I tasted in my mouth was blood. At this time, I still had no idea about spiritual warfare and using the name of YESHUA to stop these events. No idea. Now, I'm 40 years old at this time, right? 2014, I just turned 40 years old. Next chapter, 2 resurrections. In November 2014, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh continued to pour out the Holy Spirit upon me. My dreams were very detailed. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh showed me things that I would learn in the Holy Bible. He showed me things he spoke of that were going to happen. It seemed like he was showing me the Holy Bible in my dreams, proving it to be the truth. He also was teaching me about what he spoke of in his word. One specific dream Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh allowed me was vivid and real. I had a death experience back in 2007. In the dream, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh used that to explain to me what was coming. In a dream, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh were in a mist. He brought me back to life. I was resurrected. He reminded me of what happened in my death experience back in 2007. He used that in the dream. Then I see a bunch of other people resurrect, almost along with me at the same time, but he had highlighted my resurrection, and he had also reminded me of the death experience in 2007 when he resurrected me. He gave me that same feeling. He brought that night back. So he highlighted that to me. So as Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh is highlighting him resurrecting me. Yet again, using that experience, around me I'm seeing people resurrect, right? So he brought me back to life in the dream. He's resurrecting me. He's using an experience I had in the past as an example. And I see a bunch of other people, as well as spiritual beings, resurrect with me. Then there was a second resurrection in the dream, and I saw different people arise from the dead. In the morning the next day, I reached out to a ministry that I was in connection with. She told me that what Yud-Hey-Vav-Hey showed me was in Matthew regarding 2 resurrections. She told me Yud-Hey-Vav-Hey was trying to tell me that I would be a part of the first resurrection. I fell upon my knees and worshipped Yud-Hey-Vav-Hey more fiercely than I had ever done before. It meant I had a future with him, and with him, it meant I had a future in him and with him, and my eternal destination was set by him. Next chapter, Ezekiel's Wheel. Late one evening, Can you get, how long have I'm going? It's 11:22. Look at the 11s. Hang on one second. I don't mean to be rude. Can I have like 2 minutes? My stomach, I'm hungry. I want cottage cheese and soda. Like, yes, I have pot roast for dinner, but I gotta like get something in my stomach right now. I need 2 minutes, 3 minutes, please. Okay, I'm coming back. I don't mean to be rude. I think I'm going to end up running this last part in 2 parts, right? What page am I on? Like in 2 videos. I'm only on page 60. I'm going to probably end up making this in 2 parts because my book is like, I have to read you to page 90 and we're only on page 60. So I'm going to read a little bit more. good part to leave off. That's a long one. Okay. I'm going to read you guys 2 more chapters, and then I'm going to pause. Sorry. So what's that? Page 60. Okay. Next chapter, Ezekiel's wheel. Right. Late one evening when I was driving home with my roommate, I saw something I will never forget. We pulled in the in the driveway. I saw a huge wheel and a man standing next to it at the front of the house. The colors of the man sparkled, as did the wheel, and they were both taller than the 2-story home. Instantly, I came to a stop at the top of the driveway. I asked my roommate, "Do you see that?" He looked puzzled and replied, "Is it a bear? Where is it?" Since we were living in northern New Jersey, bears were constantly in our backyard. I asked again, "You don't see that?" He began to look even more puzzled at me. "No, what are you talking about, Hal?" I told him, "Never mind." I was astonished at what I was witnessing, especially since my roommate did not see it at all. I played it off and changed the subject abruptly. I continued down the driveway and parked my car. However, I could not take my eyes off the huge man and the huge wheel, both of which I had to walk past to enter the house. I had a peaceful, serene feeling, and like I was in the presence of a good angel, and like Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh had his attention completely on me. Once inside, I spent time trying to look up what the wheel and man were. A couple of days later, I learned and realized it was Ezekiel's wheel. Next chapter. YESHUA, my golden bow. During this time of October to November 2014, I was establishing my foundation and personal active, intimate relationship with Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh through Yeshua HaMashiach. I kept asking him to hear I kept nagging him. Let's be honest, I was nagging him to hear his voice like Noah did when he taught Noah how to build an ark in the middle of a desert to save humanity. My prayers were focused on getting Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh's attention and pleading with him that I wanted to be closer to him, and please put a calling upon my life. I wanted to serve him more now than ever before in my life. Things started to make sense to me, and Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh was not as distant to me as churches and other people made him out to be. I went to him directly for everything and stopped listening to everybody else around me. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh knows better than anyone else anyhow, and all I need is him. People had a problem with this as I was showing independence and initiative. They could no longer hold me back. I thirsted for more and more. I thirsted more and more for Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, and my passion grew with each second that passed. One morning I looked at my Holy Bible I had laying open on the couch. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh allowed me an awake vision. I saw an arrow hovering over my Holy Bible. Instantly I told Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, "I don't know what that is, but I want it." In the days to come, as I tuned into my ministries, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh directly revealed to me that the silver arrow he showed me hovering over the open Holy Bible, he showed me that that arrow is his spoken word. And if I had his spoken word written in my head and heart, and I used his spoken word, and I used Yeshua's name, darkness and demons could not stand against it. So basically at this point, I learn and I find out for the first time in my life, if you say Yeshua, it stops alien abductions, alien attacks, demonic attacks, things that manifest out of nothing and they physically manifest in front of you and they can touch you. Yes, throw down Yeshua's name. So at this point, I finally find out that Yeshua's name stops all of that stuff. Even Jesus' name, if you prefer to call him Jesus. So it works. Many, many days later after this, I'm laying down, just about to fall asleep, and my Holy Bible was sitting open, either on the coffee table or like at my feet, whatnot. Because a lot of times I'll be reading it and I'll just set it down next to me. So it's at night. My Holy Bible's open, and I'm trying to fall asleep. And when I looked at it, all of a sudden, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh allowed me another awake vision. But this time I saw a golden bow hovering over the open Holy Bible. So the Holy Bible being open is in this reality. It's an awake vision, so I'm seeing a golden bow hover over the Holy Bible. And again, I turn to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, and I say, I see that golden bow. I don't know what it is, but I want it. It seemed like Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh was leading me somewhere by showing me these things, and I had to find out what they were. While doing my Holy Bible studies, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh revealed to me that Yeshua came first, and gold is first place. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh showed me Yeshua, and he was wearing a gold belt. And that instant, I began calling him my golden bow. At that instant, I called him my golden bow, and I called me his white-hot silver arrow. Together we were a weapon, and our pieces fit together, and we make a perfect couple, or we make a perfect team. He's the bow, I'm his arrows. White-hot, because when he returns, I'm not going to be found cold. I'm not going to be found lukewarm. And I'm not going to settle for just hot. Oh, no, 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 no. I'm going to be on white hot fire, Calvin fire. And silver arrow, silver kills witches and werewolves and stuff like that. An arrow, because the arrow is Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh's living logos. Yeshua, that's his name, Yeshua. He's the sword, right? The truth. So at this point, now I got my nicknames for him and me. This is how our personal, intimate, active relationship formed. Now, Yeshua was not just my Savior and God in human form who died for my sins, but now he was my golden bow, and he was personal to me. I could relate to him and connect with him. I knew the depression, if I felt depression, he had carried it and took that to the cross. He took everything to the cross. I felt like I had a direct line to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh and a strong connection. The ministry who I was in communication with kept making videos and encouraging others to be saved and be baptized if they were not already. I took her and his advice and began searching for churches near me that might baptize me to Yeshua. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh led me to a Messianic rabbi who was close to the very expensive couch that I was renting in Newfoundland, New Jersey. I tuned into this ministry at the direction of Heavenly Abba. To my amazement, this was the same man I had a vision of when I was 13 years old and fell under spiritual attack from Satan. Now, remember in my normal life when the neighbor kept telling my biological mother to take Holly to a Messianic rabbi for the nightmares she was having and not to the psychoanalyst? Okay. The rabbi that my neighbor was telling my biological mother to take me to, I had an awake vision of what he looked like and of him at that time when I was 13. Okay? So now here I am, 40 years old, December 2014, Abba's guiding me. Abba guides me straight smack dab into this Messianic rabbi who's running videos on YouTube. His ministry is literally just miles down the road. And it's the same Messianic rabbi that Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh gave me an awake vision of back when I was 13. I should have been going to him, not the psychoanalyst. And the psychoanalyst is actually a chapter in my book. So getting back to reading. So, turns out the Messianic rabbi is close to the expensive couch that I'm renting. I tuned into this ministry at the direction of Heavenly Abba. To my amazement, this was the same man that I had a vision of when I was 13 years old. And I was falling under spiritual attack by Satan. From Satan. I could not believe my eyes when I saw this rabbi blow the shofar with a lamb and Star of David on the back of his talit, prayer shawl. He matched the vision Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh had given me of him. For weeks I watched and then decided I would attend one of his sermons that he held in hopes that he might baptize me to Yeshua. All right, so at this point, I am halfway down page 61, right? Edit. Part 3. Pages 50 to 61. All right, I'm going to do this in 2 parts. So when I return back, I'll read pages 61 all the way down to 91. So the next video will be a lot longer. The last video. How long has this video been going? Let me make a guess. I've been running this for 1 hour and 45 minutes. Okay, the very last video is going to be probably 2 hours and 45 minutes. I'm going to try to run it tomorrow afternoon. All right? Try to run it tomorrow afternoon for like 3 hours. All right, guys, I'm going to get going because I want to eat dinner. And I'm got to be up at 4. So I'm going to go to sleep. And I hope that you guys sleep very soundly. I hope that you sleep well. I pray that Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh reveals himself to you. And before I shut it down, I'm going to give a shout out to everybody in my chat room because I love you guys. I love you, I love you, I love you so much. Addie, Tina, Viborg, Michelle, so good to see you. Shalom. Kenny K. Shalom. Chris. Addie, Tina, Chris, Kenny, Kelly Kirk. Oka. William, Information Creation. Lincoln, I want to give you a call back, sweetheart. Elaine, it's good to see you. Rosalind, Hidden Secrets of Brittany. Wild Hearted for Jesus Ministries. I'm glad to talk to you. If we don't get to do our private call tomorrow, then we'll do it Wednesday. I look forward to it. Chris, you still owe me one too, and I'll come to collect. Don't you think I won't? Chris is like, oh no, I'm hiding. No, I'm teasing. Internet user. Just Joy. Paula. William, Shauna. Officer Hot. James Pollock. Shauna Hall. Jeff. Jay Varney. James. Shield Maiden for Christ. All right, guys, I love you very much. Thanks for tuning in to me, listening to me read you my autobiography. Okay. All right, I hope that you all have sweet dreams. Know that I'm praying with and for all of you, and I'm really humbled that you hung out with me. So, hopefully I'll see you tomorrow night. And again, before it ends, happy January 11th. Happy 1/11/2011. And it was really cool that I got to spend 11:11 p.m. with you. Very, very cool. All right. I think at 11:11 a.m. I was knocked out. I was going to just take a nap. Well, it was a nap. Just happened to last like 4 hours. All right, I'll see you later. I love you guys. Sweet dreams, everyone. I love you. A bushel and a peck and a hug around the neck. See ya. See you tomorrow. Hasta mañana, mi amor.